it's time to introduce the third pitching company and CEO. And I'm going to start with the company CannaVerde. Pharma, that's CannaVerde Pharma, is a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with core operations in Colombia, focused on delivering low-cost, pharmaceutical-grade, EU GMP-compliant cannabis-based products to consumers and medical patients in Latin America and Europe. Company overview: high-margin revenue streams, diversifiable, scalable, high-margin revenue streams across different product categories, geographical markets, and tax-efficient jurisdictions. World-class genetics, fully registered and protected, 39 proprietary CBD and THC dominant medical cannabis strains, and that's THC 20% plus. Full suite of licenses, license for cultivation, extraction, manufacture, domestic, distribution, and export of CBD and THC-based medical cannabis products. Exclusive partnerships, the only medical cannabis company in Latin America to partner with a hospital to prescribe medical cannabis to patients. Significant upside, attractive valuation is significantly lower outlays and cash burn compared to peer group. Closest competitor trading at 12x CannaVerde's valuation. Interesting who that is. Exceptional leadership, former U.S. president candidate, former ambassador to Peru, Harvard graduate medical doctor, former team physician for Colombian football team, and other scientists and business professionals. Founder and CEO is Mr. Michael Netorescu. Mr. Netorescu started his career as an analyst at Gluskin Chef, hedge fund catering to high net worth families based in Toronto, Canada. By the way, an excellent hedge fund. Following his career at Gluskin Chef, he was appointed the investments director at Infinite Potential Management, the private family office of the founders of BlackBerry. Prior to joining CannaVerde Pharma, Mr. Netorescu, co-founded a cannabis-focused private equity firm where he served as CEO and investments director. So, Mr. Michael Netorescu, please proceed. And I apologize if I butchered your name.
That's definitely okay. Thanks, John. It's great to be here. That's definitely okay. Thanks, John. It's great to be here. Thanks very much for your time. We're very, very excited about our company, specifically as Colombia has changed or has severely altered its laws to allow for three very important things. Obviously, dry flower is very, very important given the fact that the market is 50+% dry flower. So a significant upside there. The sale of prescription medications in pharmacies throughout Colombia, which further increases our market size, as well as CBD-based edibles. So I'll go ahead and share my presentation. John did a fantastic job. Thanks very much at covering our first page. So we'll start from the page here. So we're focused specifically on Latin America and Europe. And obviously we have lots of different forecasts for the market. But specifically, we believe that as we go through within the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be a significant upside in terms of the revenue potentials for us in both those jurisdictions. Anytime you put up revenue projections, I think it stands to reason that it's fairly difficult to ensure in an industry that's burgeoning. But I wanted to give potential investors and everyone an insight into how we intend to generate the revenues. And we're focusing on obviously Latin America and Europe. Specifically in Colombia, we're focusing on patient acquisition. In Latin America, so Brazil, Chile, Peru, and Mexico, we're focusing on products, basically CBD products over the counter. And then cannabis flower sales in Europe through our proposed Malta facility. So we are scheduled to send about 4 million grams of cannabis to Malta for further processing and distribution throughout Europe. So very, very healthy as we move into the next years. This is how we plan to generate those revenues. So our cultivation is Colombia. That is going to be our main focus. And then we'll go into Malta for distribution into Europe. And for distribution to Brazil and Mexico and Chile and Peru, we're also doing it from Colombia, specifically as we've partnered with a company that has been licensed by all those health authorities from Brazil, from Mexico, from Chile, and from Peru to be able to not only stabilize products, but also to manufacture those products. In Colombia, we're focusing on medical patients. Medical Precision Care is one of the only compounding pharmacies in the country able to formulate prescription medication. We're looking at opening up clinics. And of course, we have the only hospital partnership in Latin America, and I'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, with Malta, we're focusing on distribution throughout Europe. We're both going to take the flower and re-export it from Malta into other jurisdictions, but as well, we'll be focusing on finished products as well with CBD and THC. These are our proposed strategic growth acquisitions. So 50% of Medical Precision Care, and we'll go into a little bit of detail as to what this means and how this is transformational. And then 100% ownership of the Maltese subsidiary, and obviously that will be the gateway through Europe. This is what the structure would look like. So 100% of Green Health Colombia, 100% of the Maltese company, and 50% of Medical Precision Care. This is what our patients in our network look like in Colombia. So 770,000 patients for a variety of conditions based on all of our partnerships with doctors, hospitals, and medical associations. This year, we plan to open 4 cannabis clinics: Bogota, Medellin, Cali, and Bucaramanga. Just to give an example, Bogota has 7 million people, 10 million in the surrounding area. And if we were to make an assumption of 2% to 5% of medical cannabis users, that's 200,000 to 500,000 possible patients. And we would be able to access those patients, and just gives us tremendous numbers there for a variety of conditions. This partnership we're extremely excited about is with Fundación Cardiovascular de Colombia, 3rd largest hospital in the country, 7th largest in Latin America. Specifically, we're doing comprehensive training programs for doctors, prescription and the marketing of magistral formulations with medicinal cannabis, so prescription medication, as well as to develop and commercialize novel pharmaceutical grade cannabis products. So the hospital is obviously one of the biggest in the country, and we're very, very excited as this is the first partnership of its kind in Latin America. And this stands to having access to the number of patients here through the networks that they have. Medical Precision Care is a holy grail, we believe, because of the fact that once you get a prescription of medical cannabis, one must compound and formulate it. This is one of the only companies that can do so. It's a very extensive process. So not only do you have to get the GMP certification from Colombia, but you have to be able to handle both CBD and THC, so the good elaboration practices. So you basically have to become a pharmacy. So with this particular acquisition, we're able to have access to all of these patients and provide to them with a finished product. You can see the products on the right-hand side. So sublinguals, both CBD and THC, capsules, vitamins, patches, topicals, and not only that, but there is insurance coverage now in Colombia, specifically on the national side, but also private insurance coverage. So we'll be able to take advantage of that opportunity as we move forward. We're currently going through stability tests for distribution to Brazil. So those stability tests have happened in Europe, in North America. None of those stability tests have been done for Zone 4B, which is the most humid and the most hot, specifically the Brazilian market. So once you stabilize a product, then you can put it on a shelf. So with Brazil, with 210 million people, we believe that that's going to be a huge cannabis market, but that also gives us the option to stabilize the products for Mexico, for Chile, for Peru. So we've partnered with a company in Colombia to be able to do this. We'll begin the stability test shortly. We expect to have an Anvisa product registration by the end of December, and then distribution into Brazil in 2022. JGB is one of the largest CPG companies in the country. We've partnered with them to integrate CBD into their existing product lines, but also develop new product lines containing CBD. The recent legislation last Friday gave us the ability to have over-the-counter edible products that contain CBD. So that opens up a huge market for us in Colombia, and therefore this partnership will be strong going forward as we develop that strategy there. Green Health Colombia is, as John mentioned at the very beginning, fully licensed cultivation, extraction, distribution, export, both CBD and THC, fully permitted from the extraction standpoint. We have 81,000 square feet of greenhouse built. You can see the pictures there. Those are our plants. We've registered 39 strains, high CBD, high THC. You can see them on the next page. All of our dry flowers GACP compliant. And the extraction facility will be almost complete to GMP verification. And obviously, I don't have to tell you about the Colombian standard for not only agriculture, but it's one of the lowest cost, highest quality jurisdictions on this planet. These are selected strains. You can see very high CBD here, high THC as well. Obviously, that's a bonus as we move into the European market, as they prefer very high THC strains. Malta, obviously, it's a full voting member of the EU, 4.8% income tax rate. I've talked to the ambassador of Malta to the US, the ambassador of Malta to the European Union, favorable business environment, and this allows us to be able to distribute it throughout the European continent. This is the projection for the facility in Malta. So everything's been complete on the outside of the facility. We need to finish the facility on the inside, then get the EU GMP verification, and then the first product from Colombia to Malta in Q1 of 2022. Obviously, we're going to be extremely competitive, not only on price, but also on quality with all of the Canadian and other European cultivators as well. Spring Healthcare, CPTM, the Maltese company, has a partnership with them, not only to develop cannabis further within the European Union, but also to integrate cannabis-based products into their existing network of hospital and pharmaceutical supply chains. Target milestones, very simple: 10,000 medical patients in Colombia, the 4 medical clinics in Colombia as well, complete the Malta facility, register the product with Anvisa, and then in 2022, the EU GMP verification for our Malta facility, which then will be an extension to our Colombia facility, given that it's not a brand new application for EU GMP, but rather the extension. Ship flower from Colombia, 4 million grams throughout next year. That's going to yield about $15 million in revenues. And then we'll start sequentially going higher and higher. And then, of course, getting into the 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 patients within Europe. Our team, we believe, is one of the best. I wanted to highlight Ivan Osma. Dr. Osma is a graduate of both Johns Hopkins and Harvard University, so one of the best known doctors in the country. I wanted to highlight Mr. Richard Gephardt, which is a former U.S. candidate, and he was on the board of Ford and U.S. Steel. Thanks, John.
You have 10 minutes left, Michael.
Thank you. And then Ambassador Dennis Jett to Peru, Dr. Carlos Ulloa, which is the former team physician for the Colombian national soccer team. We have a gentleman who's just invested in our company. His name is Tom McMillan, former NBA player, former Rhodes Scholar, former U.S. Congressman. He's going to help us with our CBD line of products with Dr. Ulloa for athletes. The capital structure is very simple, is very clean. We're trading at a fraction of the multiples that are competitors. We believe we have 4. Obviously, there are more, but I highlighted these: Pharmacielo, Chiron, Flora, and Clever. Our valuation is 12 million Canadian equity, and we have $4.595 million in debentures. We've raised $6.7 million to date. We're looking at 6 to 8 2-year debentures, 10%. They convert at IPO or maturity into this valuation here. And all of that is going to be able to get us to revenue and to cash flow positivity. And that's a quick overview of our company, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
Okay, very good. Let's start. CEO O'Neill Capital. Do you have any questions?
No, I mean, it sounds very, very interesting. I mean, I think that it's hard to do pharmaceutical cannabis. I mean, it's interesting that it's been approved in in Colombia as a medical product. I know that it's far from doing that here in the United States because we have to go through clinical trials. And I guess the question that I have, I mean, there's twofold. Number one is why did you go public? Because you know, a lot of pre-revenue companies that go public end up under a lot of duress on their stock price, which ends up being a hindrance for raising capital. And the second part is, what is the debenture? What are the terms of the previous debenture that they did? Is it a bottomless convertible, or I just would like those terms just so that I get a better idea of what their, you know, what the strategy for raising this capital was or is.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dennis. So number one, we're a private company. We're not a public company. Yes.
Okay.
So
No, okay. I seen you comparing them to public companies. Then you said something about an IPO, and so I was looking for the ticker symbol and I couldn't find it. Okay, that helps.
yeah. So basically the convertible debenture converts into stock at either maturity or IPO. Or a go public transaction. So that's within the debenture agreement. So we've raised $4.595 million in debenture.
Well, what's the floor on the convertible? Is it a floating convertible, or is there a floor as far as what the bottom could be of what they convert at?
Yeah. So they converted 60 cents, which is the current share price.
Okay.
Correct. So they converted the valuation. Exactly. So it's 10%. The 4.595 million converts December 31st, 2022 or later. So that gives us enough opportunity for us to be able to either have a go public transaction as we go into the revenues. So obviously we have a year and a half to make a decision as to what would happen. Mm-hmm. So that leaves us open to that possibility. So 10%, 2 years. And it's converted to 60 cents.
Okay, and what are you actually doing in Malta? Is that going to be a processing facility or a pure? I mean, obviously you're not going to do a grow operation in Malta. I've spoken at several conferences there. It's probably the smallest of the smallest countries I've ever been to. Beautiful place though. But what are you specifically doing in Malta again?
So we are not doing any cultivation in Malta. As you said, it does not make any sense. Sure. So what we're doing is reprocessing.
It's one big rock.
Exactly. So what we're doing is reprocessing of the flower for us to send it throughout Europe. So Malta will be the first landing place of the dried flower. And then we're going to build a facility to make products as well. So whether we repackage and resell the dry flower to EU GACP standards, which are being Colombia, and then EU GMP standards with our facility, and then we'll also create products for distribution throughout Europe. So finished products on the CBD and THC. And I wanted to.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is there any issues of getting the actual flower or dry product into Europe for processing? I mean, is there a big tax on that? I mean, I know that all these markets are trying to wall themselves off to imports.
So there isn't. So I've spoken to the ambassador of Malta to the US. So what happens is we're going to book some revenue in Colombia at a 30% tax rate. So I'm going to give you a hypothetical example. Our cost per gram will be 10 cents. We sell to ourselves at 70 to 80 cents. So book some revenue in Colombia, which we pay about 30% tax rate. And then once we sell it to ourselves in Malta, the price will be 250 euros. So we can unlock that specific revenue at 4.8% tax rate. And there is no problem with us sending the cannabis to Malta. There was a problem because dry flower wasn't allowed, but obviously that changed. So outside of the fact that, so I've talked to the Maltese authorities, and that's the whole point. Malta doesn't want to cultivate. They want to bring in the flower, repurpose it, and send it throughout the European Union. So we don't see any problems with that. And obviously, the reason the Canadians are the ones that are sending cannabis to Europe is not because they have this magic formula and they have the best quality cannabis. they were the first to get the standards, the EU GACP and the EU GMP, but they're producing an inferior product, in my opinion, at a much higher cost than we would be able to.
Okay, now that makes sense to me. I mean, obviously, you need a door into Europe, and the easiest and best way is to go through Malta. You know, I've met a couple of the they don't call them presidents of Malta, but I forget what the name is. But you know, Malta's open for business. There's no doubt about it. They're very, very aggressive. They were really big into blockchain and crypto. So I guess cannabis would be the next alternative market for them to go after. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and they're full EU member. So and not only that, Colombia has a free trade agreement with Malta and with the European Union.
Okay, somebody else want to ask a question?
By the way, that was a really fascinating dialogue. Thank you, Dennis. It really drew out Michael well. He's, by the way, extremely knowledgeable. Let's move on to Bill Marcus. We have time for one very quick question. Partner and CEO of Green AXS Capital. If you're there, Bill. Okay.
Yeah. I want to ask you about, you know, have you ever been accused of a lack of ambition, Michael?
No, sir.
But, you know, I'm looking at what you're doing in LATAM and thinking that you could be the holy grail there to go out and start a two-front war, so to speak, with Europe in terms of growth and LATAM at the same time. Given what you've got in LATAM, especially with your doctor network and there's 700,000 patients, are you concerned that you're moving too quickly? And who's your management team in Europe? Are you just off-taking from Malta, or do you have partners in relationships to do that off-take in Malta?
Yeah, no. So I mean, I think we have the company's management team for CPTM is outstanding. What we're trying to buy, so they are knowledgeable. There's a gentleman on their staff. His name is Gilad Livni. He is one of the best growers in the world from Israel. So he's going to help us with all of these things. I mean, they have a fantastic management team. Number one, we wouldn't do business with anyone without that as the main ingredient. Okay. I think the partnership with the hospital is absolutely huge. And I wanted to bring something up very quickly. We partner with a company called GT Research to sequence the genome of all of our strains, and then to put that against the human cannabinoid body to see what it looks like and how our strains work. And we have the cultivation in place. So we built all of our facilities. So for us to be able to get
Michael, sorry, I have to
is fantastic.
Have to cut you off, but that was really good. Thank you again. Always learning something new from you.
Thank you.
Now it's time to, and by the way, I encourage the investor judges and anybody else to reach out directly to Michael. He has his contact information in the commentary.